Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Marvel-ous Movie Mondays. Another late night recording for us, but we are here to bring you some fun podcast entertainment as we hold over until Moon Knight comes out, because Moon Knight is around the corner, but it's still a little bit of a long corner still that we're cornering around. So, and there's little baby Groot in Kelsey's video. Kelsey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Dill. How are you?
I'm good. A little bit of sad news to start the show. I know we always start with news if we have it. And there was one big Marvel news that broke today, and that is unfortunately that William Hurt, the actor who plays Thaddeus Ross in the MCU, has passed away at the age of 71. Very sad. We just saw him in Black Widow. Was the last time we saw him in the MCU, but we've seen him in countless things, starting with the Incredible Hulk, going through, he was in Civil War. He was a big part of the Sokovia Accords part. And then, of course, most recently, Black Widow. Maybe he'll be in She-Hulk. Who knows? They have not disclosed a lot of casting on that. But very sad news for an actor who has a smaller part, but has obviously been in other big things around the MCU, especially younger in his career. But notable presence nonetheless. I mean, one of the most active in the MCU next to Nick Fury in terms of non-superheroes. His presence is just throughout, for sure.
He's in Endgame. I just watched that the other day, so I remember.
That's right. You just have these on loop. You just have them constantly playing.
Well, Dill, I've been preparing for your trivia match with Zach, so I have been watching them on.
Right, you have the right questions for my trivia match. I was gonna say you don't have to compete in trivia for a while. That's the one negative to winning, is that you don't have to play as much because you're the champ. So you have to just kind of hold the belt. But someday you'll play again, and then if you lose, you get to play a lot now. So whether that's a blessing or a curse, I don't know. But yeah, very, very sad news. Anything else to add to that, Kels, about his legacy?
Really sad, small part, but he always made an impactful presence in every film. And
impactful,
a really,
to the
really
point
solid actor.
Yeah, impactful to the point where, like, I didn't like him in a lot of the movies because he was kind of an antagonist. But again, we just appreciate the acting, especially, and what he brought to the table, as well as countless other films. But mostly to the MCU fans, obviously, as Thunderbolt Ross. So a moment of silence for him. Rest in peace. And now it is time to get to a more uplifting, maybe, topic. We were toying around ideas of what to do to fill the offseason. Obviously, we're going to have more trivia around the corner, aka what Kelsey teased earlier. Myself versus Zach will be coming later this month with maybe an undercard. We're trying to get that scheduled, but we're thinking of other things. And we did the list of 10 MCU deaths, and that was a lot of fun. So Kelsey gave me the idea for this topic. And Kelsey, what topic are we covering today?
We are ranking the top 10, in our opinions, the top 10 most shocking moments in the MCU.
That's right. I'm going to turn this ring light down just because it's late. I don't need too much light. There we go. The top 10 most shocking moments in the MCU. I guess that's the way this is. I wasn't sure if we were going to go with shocking or surprising or just like jaw-dropping. So I like shocking. It's very... Definitely. And we did rank them from 10 to 1, and I'm sure we will have very different choices, probably some of the same. Yeah. And our one rule was no deaths, because we already talked about death in our episode of the top 10 MCU death scenes or most impactful death scenes, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, with the sad news of William Hurt, we're not going to be talking about death today. We're going to be talking about everything but that. But definitely some shocking moments, because the MCU has given us plenty of shockers. And these are coming from people who watched them all in succession when they came out. I watched them when they came out in theaters, but Kelsey watched them all at once in a marathon. But she did watch them in the intended release order. So she was, she had the same surprises that everyone else had. So it's not like, some of these moments now in retrospect, watching back, it's like they're not shocking. It's part of who they are or what these characters are. But back at the time, were very surprising. So how we're going to do this is we're going to count it down from 10 to 1. If we have it higher on our list, we'll just say it then. We'll be like, oh, that was my number 1 or that was my number 2. But I have a feeling we might have some of the same ones toward the top of the list, but who knows? Kelsey, let's kick it off with your number 10. What is your number 10 most shocking moment?
So this is what I did, Dill. I kind of just accumulated my list purely from memory, moments that made me just... I have 3 different categories of shocking moments, right? So I started off my list with just the jaw droppers, just the ones where I was sitting in the theater or on my couch or your couch or wherever, and I just went, For those of you who are just listening, I just dropped my jaw open.
As the term jaw dropper alludes.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Then my second category, my more intense moments, these are the gasps. Gasp.
Oh, so this is where you get more audible with it. Instead
Yeah,
of the jaw drop,
a
now you have
little.
the,
It's a, it's a visceral reaction. Maybe even the shoulders come up with it.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
my top 3 most shocking moments, I call them the audible no.
Okay.
Those moments, where you audibly have to say something. Either it's or an expellatives, anything.
I was gonna say, before we get into your list, let me just tell you how I broke mine down. I'd say
for sure.
Number 10 is just a moment that just scared me.
Okay.
Like a shock in that sense where I jumped out of my chair.
Okay,
Number
sure.
9 through 6, 9 through 5, 9 through 3 even, are just things that I had no indication would be a part of the movie because of the trailers, and I was just surprised to see it and just whoa, oh my god, I didn't see this coming at all. And then the top 2 were the ones that I was oh my god, what? Crazy. So yeah, a lot of them kind of have a similar vibe in terms of either actors that surprised me that came out of nowhere, cameos, or even just relationships of characters or different things like that, just reveals of character things. It's gonna be a fun list. What is your number 10?
I love both of our interpretations of this. I'm so excited. So my number 10 is Hela destroying Thor's hammer in Thor Ragnarok.
That's actually very funny. I have a similar one at number 9. It's not the hammer though, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, the hammer moment, that was crazy because Mjolnir was gone. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember if that was in the trailer or not. I don't know why I wasn't as surprised with that. I don't know. I feel like it might have been the trailer, but also you're someone who didn't watch the trailers when you watch all of these,
Yeah, I didn't watch really any trailers, especially when we were getting closer to Endgame. I wanted to be as surprised as possible.
Since Endgame, you've watched all the trailers.
Oh, because we talk about them on this podcast. I think
that's so interesting because, that moment, if you don't know what's coming, and it comes so early in the movie, it's a shock.
Yeah, it's so early on, Mjolnir is supposed to be this indestructible force that only Thor can lift. So the fact that she's even holding it, and some more characters as we learned, but the fact that she's holding it, she's the goddess of death. She is certainly not worthy of Mjolnir, and then she just crushes it with one hand. I was like, oh, so this is getting real. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I have a similar thing in number 9. I wonder if it's also on your list or if you went with this one instead of the other one. My number 10, like I said, it was the moment that scared me. So I wanted to put it on a list of shocking moments because it shocked the hell out of me. It is the last episode of Loki when Miss Minutes pops in and says, "Hey, y'all." Because I'll tell you, I've never once just jumped out of my chair like that. And even when I rewatch it, even when I'm scrolling through the TikToks of it, it scares me every time. It shocks me. It surprises me. It startles me. It drops my jaw. So I will say that is my number 10 because I wanted to include all sorts and ranges of these. Not everything has to be Black Widow falling off a cliff. It can also be so startling, especially when it's your favorite character of the fourth phase of movies. Well, actually, TV shows. Yelena's the best new character of this phase, of the shows. Miss Minutes was the runaway for me. No contest. So I was amazed.
I'm laughing so hard. That's so funny. I love how that's on your list.
It's a shocking moment, isn't it?
It is a shocking moment. Yeah, when you're talking about when they're walking into He Who Remains lives. Hey, y'all.
She just pops up. Hey, y'all. And it's the whole screen gets filled too. It's not like a little thing. It's boom. It's in your face. I probably broke the back of my cranium doing it because I jolted back too hard. I hit my head on the back of the wall. Luckily, I was laying in my bed watching it, so I just had a pillow behind it. But scary moment. Moment, but hey, a boss move for my favorite character. A boss move for sure. What is your number 9, Kelsey?
So my number 9. Oh my god, do I know how to write numbers? That's I wrote my
them
list
out and then wrote the numbers afterward.
Yes. Anyway, my number 9 is the Adrian Toomes reveal in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Which reveal? The reveal that he's
The
Liz's
villain
dad.
reveal when he goes to the date, when he goes to pick her up for
Like
the
when he opens the door.
homecoming. Yes, and when he opens the door.
Kelsey, that's my number 3. That is one of my favorite moments.
Wow.
Because you know why? Because I think that movie for me is so underwhelming that moment is even better because it's my favorite moment of that
made
movie.
more of an impact on
But
you.
talk about it because it's a great pick. That's my number 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just lower for me because it's one of those moments where I'm like, well, I should have seen this coming. I was kind of like more mad at myself that I didn't pick up on it because, you know, there has to be something that connects them in some way, I guess. And because it happened to be like Liz's dad, the girl he was crushing on, and now he's standing in her house like trying to take pictures before homecoming, like,
and he's like washing off the knife or something that he just cooked dinner
yeah,
with or whatever, so
yeah,
it's even more menacing. But the cool
yeah,
thing is that he doesn't really know Peter's Peter or Peter's
yes,
Spider-Man. But oh my god, such a good moment. And I think it's because of the Michael Keaton performance. It's because
yeah.
of just the whole moment and what's set up there, and because that movie is so light in tone that when you get there, it takes like a really dark turn. And I think that was also part of the surprise. It was not just the reveal of who the character was in relation to her, but like also just the fact that it was like, oh, now we're getting dark. And I think that was a really big deal. That's my favorite like villain reveal. I have a few villain reveals here. Like, oh my god, this person was this person. That is my favorite. Like, I just love it so much because it's so it caught me by surprise, and I didn't even say like, oh, I should have seen this coming because like I really think like you couldn't have seen it coming. I really don't think you can. It's a great moment. My number 9 is similar to your number 10, and that is Hela ripping out Thor's eye.
Okay.
And I think this was one that was because of the trailer. You know, we see the shot with the lightning, and he's, you know, whatever, he's got his eyes. So the fact that like he had an eye patch in that scene, like the trailers were so misleading that I was surprised when she ripped it out. I was like, oh, that's got to be a joke, right? But then until I guess Infinity War, he didn't get his eye back, and I was like, oh shoot, like that's like actually it's gone. And even then, like his eye for the rest of it is a fake eye. So that was just a really interesting character moment just because of the trailer giving away a scene later in the movie, so you have no idea it's going to come earlier, and it does kind of like what you said with Hela and the hammer, kind of establishes her as a good villain as well. So that's a great moment.
It's definitely shocking to watch him get mutilated like that because you've never really seen like any other like villain, especially with Thor, come close to really like maiming him in any way.
And just in general, the violence in the MCU is not on the level of some other franchises to where like the violence is pretty tame, that this feels a little bit excessive compared to the MCU standards, which I also like, which was a good surprise. You know, like Star Wars, we're seeing people get their limbs cut off every movie, but in this, it's like we don't see that a lot. Sorry to spoil Star Wars for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Good, something to look forward to.
Kelsey, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is in the same realm of a villain reveal. It is the Trevor Slattery reveal in Iron Man 3. It is the Mandarin reveal. Oh my god, tell me like that's your number 1.
That's my number 2.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I really think I think it has to do with the fact that I watched these when they came out, and like that just was like, because everyone was hyping up, we're gonna get the Mandarin finally, and then it ends up being this Trevor Slattery actor, and I think it is a reason why a lot of people think Iron Man 3 is the worst MCU film, and I think it's one of the reasons why it's one of the best, because it is a shocker. It is not like the comics. It doesn't have to be like the comics, and I love that they took that risk. But talk more about it. It's your number 8. What do you have to say about it?
It's just such a delightful twist. Like he's just this dumb, innocent, like, you know, clown of a guy, and it really like it almost like really takes you a second to understand what's going on. I think that's why it's lower on my list, is because like Tony Stark is like aiming a gun at him and is like, what, like, start, you have 30 seconds to live, start explaining what's going on. And he's like, it's not real. It's the Mandarin, it's all fake, I'm an actor. Like, and you're like trying to piece together in the same like within this in time, like with Tony, and you're just like, wait, what's going on? So but it's a great reveal. It's a great twist. I love that twist.
And I think it still holds up. Like every time I watch it, I am genuinely scared by those ads of him. Like it doesn't diminish the rest of the Mandarin for me, but then when we get to that spot, I'm always like, oh, that's such a good idea. Like turn it on its head. I hate how it has to be like by the books. I don't like that. Like if it's a direct adaptation of an Iron Man comic, sure, but like even then, like this is a movie. Like you can take liberties, and I love how they took that liberty. I think it's next to my number one, like the biggest shock that I ever saw watching a movie, and I'm glad for it. Like it's a pleasant shock. My number one is a like very like upsetting surprise, but this was like a very happy surprise. So
yeah,
I love it.
I mean, there's a reason why Trevor Slattery made a return in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You know,
he's a fan favorite, and he was high on our villains ranking too. He is the man of this podcast. We love him there. Was that your number 8?
That was my number 8.
Okay, my number 8. I didn't write down like what the shocker was, but I just wrote down the quote because the quote itself is what like really made me lose my mind. The quote from Ego, it says, "It broke my heart to put that tumor in her head." And that whole moment, it's kind of like the accomplishment of the reveal that Ego is like a bad guy, but also like that he's a planet. The planet thing is not as much of a shocker as like, because even there was an inkling that he could be evil, but like just it was going so well that I didn't see it coming when that's one of those things where I should have seen it coming, but for him to just reveal that he put the tumor in his mother's head, like that was where I was like, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I just didn't have words. I was like, that is awful. And that is so surprising. Like what, how? It was like, no villain is stooped this low.
Yeah. Dill, that's such a good one. I'm almost mad at myself for not thinking of it.
No, it's good. It means we're going to be talking about more things.
That's a sound on TikTok too. It's like a bunch of people were making videos of like, it broke my heart to put that tumor in your mother's head. And then it's like people like they write something over it, like some big reveal, and then it's them turning being like, what? It was a trend I saw on TikTok. I don't know. Maybe I'm on a weird side of TikTok. I don't know. But that's a really good one. I think I don't always think of Ego as like one of my more favorite villains because he just seems so like a villain we've seen before. I know I've said this like before, but it just, I don't know. It seemed too predictable that he was the villain in that movie. You know what I mean?
That's why I put the quote down specifically, because I think the villain itself, isn't as surprising, but it's just method that moment and what he's actually doing, and like the fact that he tampered so much with his life that he literally killed someone, but in the most relentless, just brutal, horrifying, toxic way possible. Yeah, it's
oh my
quite
god, to make an entire family go through someone suffering with cancer,
awful.
Yeah, so gross guy.
So that's Kelsey's honorary number 11.
It is truly
number 7.
My number 7 is Thor beheading Thanos at the beginning of Endgame.
That's a death, though. I get it. It's more the fact that I will allow it because
I didn't even think of it that way, though.
It's less of the. Is it more of the shock of Thor doing it? Is it more of the shock of Thanos dying in general, or is it just how early it comes? Is it?
No, it's the act. It's the act itself.
Just how quick it happens.
It took me by surprise. It took me by surprise.
I will allow it because I think we knew Thanos was going to die in that movie. So, like, I think that's... I'll allow it because I think it's more about the moment rather than his death specifically being shot.
I'm not saying, like, Thanos dying in the beginning or, like, that version of Thanos dying in the beginning of Endgame was the shock. I'm saying, like... Thor taking that opportunity to do what he did, especially because like Thanos was like mid-sentence, he was saying something to Nebula and he just like came down, and then of course he has the perfect follow-up, I went for the head. So it you know, it all made sense, you know.
No, that's a great moment. I mean, I'm glad you brought it up because it was so surprising. I didn't put it because it was a death technically, but I was like, I have one on my list that's kind of a fake too. It's not a death, but it is a death. So like I'm okay with that because like it is.
We'll let it slide.
And I'll be honest, I didn't put any Endgame moments on my list because I feel like we theorized Endgame so much that like I was like, anything and everything can happen, so nothing is really a surprise to me anymore. Or is it all a surprise to me? I don't know. And I knew you would bring up some Endgame moments, so I just decided to spread the wealth a little bit. But that is a great moment.
That's my only Endgame moment on my list.
Oh, interesting. It was interesting.
I was, you know, when I was given examples, like whatever I was saying before.
Because the one I thought you would put on was Cap with Mjolnir, but
yeah, see, obviously, like that was a big shocker and so exciting to watch, but I purposely omitted it just because I was like, well, I use that as an example. So I'm gonna branch out to other things.
So my number 7 and 6 are both from the same movie, but I mean that just goes to show how good the movie is that there are two shocking moments from it. So the first one, these are both from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. First one being the fact that Bucky is the Winter Soldier. because I feel like that's
Cool.
something I didn't watch that trailer. So I didn't know anything about who the Winter Soldier was. I didn't read the comics in that storyline, so I had no idea it was Bucky. And this whole time I thought he was actually dead, because that was before my brain told me if I don't see a dead body, he's not actually dead. I didn't have that mentality
Gotcha.
yet. So like,
Gotcha.
seeing Bucky as the Winter Soldier in that moment where he turns around the camera and he grabs the shield, I'm like, that was such a cool moment, but like such a shocker. And this is like my line of just events that have to do with like casting and stuff. Just surprised to see him back in the movie in general, because I thought he died.
Yeah.
And I thought he was a brand new character, and then to find out it was Bucky, like that was a very shocking moment when it came out. Obviously, it's lower on my list now because it's just so commonplace that like Bucky's in the MCU, so it's like it's harder to be a surprise if you're watching it for the first time, even because you know who this Bucky Winter Soldier character is already. So that's the reason it's lower, but I love that moment. It's a good reveal.
Yeah, I watched this movie for the first time like so long ago, Dill, that I honestly don't remember if I was shocked during that, or if I had saw it coming, or if someone accidentally told me, or I had seen a trailer so I knew. It's just that I thought this moment did come across my mind, but I don't remember doing a jaw drop or gasping or anything, so I didn't include it, but I'm glad you did.
Cool. What is your number 6? 6.
My number 6 is Vision lifting Mjolnir in
That's
Avengers:
cool
Age of Ultron.
Didn't put it on my list, but it's a very cool moment. Yeah.
It's just so subtle. Like, it's just like, boom, time to go. And it's like I love that moment because in that time he's trying to explain to them. He's like, I don't know what, literally he's in the middle of saying, I don't know what I could do to make you trust me, but we have to go. And then he does the exact thing that they all need to know, like, to see, to trust him. And it's like he doesn't even realize. That's what I think, that's what's so good about it, is that Vision doesn't even realize what he's done, and they're all just standing around. And then obviously Chris Hemsworth does a great bit in return, just being like, okay, we're moving on now, let's go do this, like nothing major just happened, it's fine.
I think the reason I didn't put it on is because it like I feel like it's such a small moment that like a lot of these other ones are like actually have the reveal like as like a beat, like it's almost like like there's a moment there. That's
like
why
there's music behind it.
Yeah, it's just so subtle and nonchalant that I didn't think of it, but it's a great moment because I think it's even more surprising than Captain America, because I think Captain America, by the time he gets it, it's like, oh, we've already seen him kind of move the hammer, we've seen Vision hold it, so we know more than one person is worthy. Obviously, it's a surprise when Steve does it, but it's like Vision being the first one, just because like no one had ever lifted it aside from Thor, so it's a great moment. My number 6 is a very like obvious one, but it's Shield revealing themselves as Hydra. That's also from Captain America: The Winter Soldier, just because it's like this whole thing that you lived by. This whole first phase was Shield, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait, what? It's gone, it's done. So like that whole reveal of it being Hydra, and then the whole taking down of Shield / Hydra, and just the Zola moment with his the recording of him talking about it. It is really interesting moment, and it really caught me by surprise. And that just becomes such a pivotal point in just the whole MCU in general. Like there was post Shield or pre Shield and post Shield. I feel like PS and BS. That's funny. Like before Shield is BS, and then PS would be post Shield, or it would be BS and AS. I don't know. BS and ass. No, but it's
like BC.
Yeah, like BC and AD. But no, but like I feel like there was a Marvel before the Shield Hydra thing, and then a Marvel afterwards. Just like how there's a Marvel before the Thanos snap, and a Marvel after it. It's like there's a big pivotal plot point. So I wanted to put it on my list. I put it in the bottom half of my list because I was like, it's still not, like when I rewatch it, it's not as big of a surprise, obviously, anymore. But I still love it. It's still a really good twist.
And obviously it's his movie, but I feel like, especially for Cap, I feel like there is Cap before all this and then Cap after all this. Like it's very much like two very different Caps. For sure. Cap has such an interesting arc. Like I said, I just watched Endgame the other day. So it's like he literally goes from Age of Ultron calling out Tony Stark for saying shit. And he's like, language, like, watch your language. And he's like, old man, I'm from the 40s, Cap. And then, like, by the time Endgames comes, he's fighting himself, looking down at the body and going, that is America's ass. Like, he just has such a subtle arc that I enjoy watching so much that that makes him going back in time for Peggy just makes me irk to this day.
I was
But
gonna say
it's
that
fine.
is not a moment that'll be on either of our lists because I
No,
saw it coming
that's
from a mile
no.
away, and it was
Yeah.
disappointing for Kelsey. It
You
was more of a
actually told me that.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
saw it coming. I was like,
You
it's gonna end
theorized
with
that
him.
from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah. I'm proud of myself because I usually don't call it.
As you should be, because that was a good call, Dale.
What is your number 5? What is the bottom of the top half?
All right, so we're well into my gasping moments here,
Okay.
right? So this is definitely was an audible gasp because I was just so mad and I felt so betrayed. And it's not what you're thinking, Jill.
I know
It's
it is.
not.
Yes, I do.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It was the John Walker reveal
Oh, it was not what I was
in
thinking.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I knew exactly what you thought it was, and that's later on the list still.
It is on mine too. John Walker is not on my
Amazing.
list, but tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Like I said, I was just I was like, no way they replaced like Steve Rogers. Not that they like really like betrayed Sam in that moment, but they thought they had the audacity to think that they could replace Steve Rogers with this puts like what, like who is this guy? He's not even a super soldier. He's this weird like military jerk.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like him. The whole point of the show was to not like him. Like and Wyatt Russell, is that his name?
Yeah, Wyatt Russell. Good job.
Yeah, I was getting him confused because with Kurt Russell.
The trivia
Who's
girl
his
doesn't
dad?
know Wyatt Russell. Wow. Yeah,
Okay,
no, his dad is
listen,
Kurt Russell.
because I wanted to make sure that I didn't.
Mom right now. I'll let you hold on to the belt for a whole year.
Goldie Hawn.
Oh my god, yeah, it is. So
really,
I guess I didn't think you knew that. So I guess because she's not in the MCU, so I guess you're holding on to that belt till the end of the year, which means I wanted to make our next title match till December.
I wanted to make sure I didn't call him by his dad's name by accident. That's the only reason why I hesitated. But Wyatt Russell did a great job because I didn't like him, but that was just a horrid reveal for me. Worse than any of the villains. I mean, maybe not because there's a villain reveal coming next that's higher on the list, but this was just because it wasn't a villain reveal. It was supposed to be a hero reveal. It was supposed to be something that was good and joyful, but it was just it felt anything but. And you watch Sam watch it in real time, and then obviously Bucky has to go through all of this, and you just feel like gross. I just felt gross watching it, so it's number 5, and because I hated it.
Yeah, I like that moment. I think it's just because the episode itself, the premiere of that show for me is a little lackluster, where I was like just kind of settling in. So even at the end when he turns around, it's like, "You're new Captain America." I was like, "Okay." I was more like, okay.
No,
it didn't
really
see
it coming.
Reaction from me. No, but it's a good choice.
Because you think he goes to the Smithsonian to retire the shield. You think it's just going to be behind glass, and that's not where you want it to be either. But it's better than him giving it, the government giving it off to him, to this, buffoon. I don't even know. What did I call him before? A putz?
A putz, yeah.
I said what I said.
My number 5, and this is a post-credits.
Ooh, how fun!
Post-credits. And I saw it. I'll set the scene. I was on a vacation in Greece, watching a movie about a kid going on vacation to Europe. And I was sitting with another Spider-Man fan, my friend Matt. We were watching the movie, and all of a sudden we hear, "And now the news from the Daily Bugle." And I went, holy fucking shit. I was like, I could not believe they got J. Jonah Jameson back, let alone J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. It is the post-credits of Far From Home. I love the Mysterio moment where he's like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That's great, too, because it was like, oh, shoot, someone's identity got revealed. Because in the MCU, identity is like pretty open. They're pretty open about who they are, except for Peter. But this moment, the, J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons reveal of just like seeing him in a movie that is not one of the Raimi movies. I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. I like jumped out of my seat because the way the Grease seating works is like there's like balcony seating, but it's all outside. So it was like an outdoor theater. So like all the seats are outside, and like there was so much room around me that I literally just got up and jumped up out of my chair. It was an exciting shock, but like to have J.K. Simmons back, even though he didn't do a lot in No Way Home, which is one of my qualms with it, there wasn't enough of him, but like so good. I'm so happy he's there. And maybe now going forward, because now he's going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, maybe now we will see more J. Jonah Jameson. Maybe we'll see him as a photographer for him. But such a cool moment. Just seeing his, because I think you hear his voice first, or it pops up right away on the sign. It's just, you don't have time to process it, but you're just like, holy shit, it's him. That you can't even focus on what he's saying. It was so exciting. And obviously that holds more weight to me, obviously, because I grew up with those films. So I was just like, wow, J.K. Simmons, so cool.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of the Sam Raimi trilogy, as we know. So, I mean, it was definitely cool. My only problem with this now, Bill, is I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, well, wouldn't J. Jonah Jameson be like a different guy in Tom's universe now that it's confirmed that there's like 3 universes and he's from Toby's?
Yeah,
so
I think it's just the fact that J.K. Simmons is playing him in both. It's 2 separate J. Jonah Jamesons. So, like,
but then why does Peter Parker look different in every multiverse? Am I just thinking about it too much?
I think you are. I mean, same as Daredevil and Kingpin. Like, those aren't canon, but they're still the same actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they could have recast it. It's like when they bring in Wolverine, like, it'll be a new Wolverine actor that is separate from Hugh Jackman. I think this is the equivalent of, instead of recasting, we're just going to cast the same actor, even though it's a different J. Jonah Jameson. I don't know, maybe. I haven't thought about that, but I don't want to because it's perfect.
I understand. I don't want to. I'm not trying to burst your bubble or anything. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if they thought this through.
I don't know. What is your number 4? You said it was a villain reveal. I'm very curious.
Yes. So I love that we're talking about Far From Home, because my number 4 is the Mysterio reveal. How he turned out to be evil. Where he reveals that he's evil.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the credit has to go to Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, because listen,
as a Swiftie, I'm surprised you
listen. I don't like him. If I ever see that cheeky motherfucker, I'm gonna knock that guy out. But he's not a bad actor.
You heard it here first.
And that's fine. Jake, watch out.
You may be banned from YouTube for that. I'm kidding.
That can't be true.
To beat him up.
But what am I ever gonna be? What am I ever gonna be in the same room as Jake Gyllenhaal?
You never know.
That was a TikTok reference for anybody who didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know. So I took it as a literal threat. But
no.
Yeah. I don't know though if it was that surprising, just because Mysterio is a villain in the comics. So I knew.
Well, I didn't know that, so it shocked me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair, and that's great. That's looking at 2 perspectives. Like, I always knew he was going to be evil. I think the way they did it though was so cool. How, like, they made you almost believe, even from watching it as someone who knew Mysterio was a villain, I was watching it almost like, well, maybe he won't be a villain in this movie. Maybe he actually will be a hero. Kind of like how Mordo is Doctor Strange's friend and then becomes evil. That was one of my honorable mentions, is the no more wizards moment. But, like, I really, I was like, are they going to just keep him good for this movie? So that's a good pick. No, it's a very good pick.
Well, I'm saying everything about this movie played me the fool, like the whole drones and making him look like he was actually doing stuff when he's not really doing stuff, and then he's just so good at being charming and being there for Peter in the beginning. That
would probably be a top 15 for me, is the reveal that it's all visual effects work. It's the drone and not actual monsters, because that was the part that surprised me. I was like, oh wait, this is all like fake. It's all illusion, which is something I should have known just because in the comics he's an illusionist. But like, I really do think it's such a cool choice. So yeah, I like the pick. It's a good pick, especially if you don't know the origins of the character, to just see him turn like that after getting the glasses too. Ugh.
Yeah, and I think part of it that made it so exciting is, like, when you see these movies in theaters, and I didn't see it on opening day or anything, but I'd happened to see it in theaters, and like just watching him just like do a full 360 with his whole demeanor, his face. As soon as he gets the glasses from Peter, he turns in that bar. Things fade from the bar. The whole bar turned out to be an illusion itself. You're just like, what is going on? oh my God. And then he's like, and then they're all like yelling about how much they hated Tony. And it's just like, it was a very well done
Yeah.
villain reveal, because I think it's
And
hard for the MCU to keep surprising us when it comes to these villains, because they always, there's a pattern with their villains, right? And it's always going to be, or for the most part, 9 times out of 10, it is a well-known actor. So whenever you know that there's a well-known actor tied to the film, they, no matter how nice they are in the beginning, they might turn out, being the bad guy. And I think where, Black Widow tried to stem away from this trope by making the Taskmaster someone we had never really met before and just someone from Natasha's past, a lot of people hated this choice because they were like, well, who is this person? Like we we
it
don't
was
know
only
her.
because they hyped it up so much, If they
Sure.
hadn't even hyped it up, it would have been fine.
Sure, that's true. That's true.
And
I
it didn't even
understand.
need to be like a new character we knew, but just like somewhat like a person, like an actor, even because we hadn't seen their face. They were keeping them hidden
Right.
from marketing for so long.
No, yeah,
No, I
I,
like
I
that. That's
see
a good
what you're
pick.
saying, Dill. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, now they really have to find this balance between like casting, actors that people at least heard of, and still having like really good villains.
Yeah.
It's a
So
juggling act.
my number 4, you alluded to it earlier. It is when Quicksilver appears on Wanda's doorstep, because it is the surprise of A, that Pietro's back, and then B, the surprise that it's Evan Peters, and then the triple surprise of that he's not even Pietro, he's Ralph Bohner, which comes later. But it's like the whole arc of Pietro. There's just Pietro in WandaVision. It was just such a surprise to me because A, no one ever thought that there was going to be crossover. Obviously, we just talked about J. Jonah Jameson, but no one thought any of the X-Men were going to cross over. All of a sudden now, Evan Peters is literally dressed in a Quicksilver costume after playing Quicksilver in X-Men. He's in the show, and everyone leaves that going, oh my God, Quicksilver, the X-Men are in the MCU. And then the very next few episodes, it's like, nope, it was just a guy named Ralph Bohner. But it's just such a good misdirect that I was just like, wow, like I am genuinely surprised. Like they really found a way to genuinely surprise me. And that show was full of surprises. Like that show had so many surprises. I just never knew where it was going. The one surprise being probably the most predictable being Agatha. So I liked how this was like another surprise to kind of add on to that. Otherwise, I think it would have been less impactful. But we had this surprise on top of that one. It was just such a good surprise. So that was definitely one of the most shocking moments, definitely of all the TV shows for me, was the Quicksilver reveal on the doorstep. I'm picking that exact moment because that was before we even knew Ralph Bohner or if it was the same Pietro or different Pietro. Just all the mystery and just the chatter around it. People couldn't shut up about it. I think that's the best pro for these TV series coming out week after week after week, is that if you end on a moment like that, the whole next week people are talking about it because they want to know what happens. It's not like a movie where you find out a twist and then a few minutes later it's like explained. It would be like if Iron Man 3 was a movie and he said, I'm just an actor, and then boom, credits roll, and then you have a whole week to figure out what the fuck is going on with the Mandarin. I would have loved that, So I really like how they utilize the TV model to make that surprise worthwhile, for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching that moment play out because like it's so like prolonged, like it goes back and forth between like Wanda and Vision having a conversation to like I think like the people on base like back at like on the sword base like watching it like unfold in real time. And for like I was nervous still that they weren't going to show us who was knocking at the door. I was like, she's going to open the door and it's just going to cut like black screen and we're going to have to wait a whole week. And then we got it and then it still ended like right then and there. And he was like, no, hug for your long lost bro. And you're just like, and then you had to wait a whole week. It was very good.
So you didn't have that on your list?
Not that particularly.
Okay.
But maybe something else pertaining to WandaVision.
My number 3 and 2 have already been said. 3 was Vulture, 2 was the Mandarin. So like take it away with your 3 and your 2. Maybe we'll have the same number 1. I have no idea. I like how different our lists are, that we've only shared 2 things so far in common. It's the Vulture and the Mandarin. And no, I don't think any of my other ones are on your list either. So like this is going to be interesting. So what is your number 3?
So my number 3 is the use of the Reality Stone in Avengers Infinity War when the Guardians go to nowhere and they have that whole sequence where Peter Quill's like, I told you to go right. And, you know, we watch Gamora kill Thanos, and then boom, he
Oh,
uses
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay.
the glove. It all was an
That's a good
illusion. It
moment.
all was
Yeah.
effect. And I think it was just so like smart. I mean, like, you're sitting there and you're going, well, this can't be it. This certainly cannot be it. And then it was just so fun to like watch the reality stone be used, I think, because
Yeah.
to its full potential, because the only other time we had seen it was Thor the Dark World, and they didn't even use it in that film.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not a good
other
movie, so
so
yeah.
many other things were going on that they
Yep.
like they completely forgot about the stone. I don't even know why they needed the stone in that movie. It's not even a stone. It's like liquid.
Ether. Yeah. The ether.
Yeah. It's like yeah.
Yeah, that's a good moment. I forgot about that moment. I think the problem with that moment is just that there's so many moments afterward that are also just as surprising that like I
Sure.
forgot about that moment when I was just going through all the moments. But that's a good moment. Like that's it. That's a very surprising moment because you think Thanos couldn't have just died right like this early. You know what I mean?
Honestly, oh my god, I thought of a better moment. I'm just gonna this my number 3 is just going to be this whole sequence, because
Okay.
honestly, a more shocking moment that happens in this scene is that Quill pulls the trigger. He
Yeah.
pulls the trigger to
Yeah.
kill
Just say that
Gamora,
whole scene. Yeah, that whole
and
scene
it's
could
a
be your number three.
bubble gun. That whole scene is just it
And
knocks the wind out of you.
Thanos slicing up Mantis and Drax too,
Yeah.
because you're like, wait, did they just die? Like it's a lot of
Yeah.
just like, wait, what is happening? What? Oh my god! And
Yeah.
then of all the people, Gamora's the one that ends up getting thrown off a cliff, and 2 scenes later, it's like, holy crap! Like this
Yeah.
movie just really holds, it just does not hold back.
Yeah, not at all.
Crazy.
That was
And what is
it
your
was a great
what's your number 2?
sequence. And my number 2, I didn't even do this on purpose, but this ties in perfectly. My number 2 is the fact that Thanos won at the end of Infinity War.
That is my number 1. Yeah, it's the snap. So
wow.
let's talk about it now because my
Yeah.
number 1 is the snap. That was my one where I was like, does it count? Because it's kind of a death, but it's not really a death. It's
Okay,
because
gotcha.
they were all going away, and you did put Peter Parker on your death list of like the I don't feel so good. So I was like, does this count? But it
Yeah.
has to, because in my opinion, I know it's your number 2, so we both think highly of it. But like, it is literally, or not think highly of the act, but just like think highly of the surprise of it.
No, yeah,
It is the most
totally.
shocking moment, I think, in comic book history. The fact that you just get, obviously you have one more, but like just the fact that like all these characters are not only fading away and fading to dust, but like they're big money makers. Spider-Man, Black Panther, Groot. It's not even just like, because at first it's Bucky. It's like, oh, that sucks. Bucky's gone. Then it's T'Challa, and you're like, oh. But then in my mind, I'm going, oh wait, but okay, Black Panther was already. Infinity War was already filmed when Black Panther came out. Maybe they didn't know it would be a big success. Now they're going to regret it because they killed him off. Okay, but then once it's Spider-Man, you're like, they can't really be gone for good, right?
Right.
But there's always that common back of your head thing, like, oh, maybe Spider-Man Far From Home will be a prequel, like.
Yeah.
And I think that's why maybe it does lose some of the surprise, is the fact that like we knew there was another Spider-Man movie coming out right after that. But again, it's like, I mean, it's still a shocking moment. And you don't expect the multitude of characters and the method. You just don't expect the villain to win, even though it is his story from the beginning. I've always said he's the main character of that movie, and he is, Thanos. So it's a very shocking moment for sure.
Yeah, I mean, with all of these movies still, they're not going to win until like the very last second, because then there's no movie if they win too early. Then it's like, what do we do with the rest of this movie? So that entire last scene in Wakanda, you were just waiting for someone to take the final blow. Wanda destroys Vision. She destroys the Mind Stone. He turns time backwards. Cap is grabbing him by the glove. Now it's just up to Cap, and you're like, oh my god, is it going to be Cap that stops this? Is it going to be Wanda? Then right at the end, boom, Stormbreaker comes flying in, and you think that's it. There's an axe buried in his chest.
Because also Thor has had such a good arc from now. He loses his brother and best friend in the first scene, and like the whole movie's about him kind of like becoming a hero again, and like after coming through all this adversity, getting Stormbreaker, you think of course it's going to be Thor who kills Thanos, and he does, but in a different way later on. But like you think it's going to end with him being like getting that final blow and having that heroic arc, and then when it doesn't, it's like, wow, and
like, yeah, and now you're just watching this guy struggle his last life like in his eyes with an axe in his chest, and he goes, "You should have went for the head," and he does it. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's just
It's crazy. It's
it's an
crazy.
audible no. It's a definite audible. I don't even think I said no because I remember we
Yeah.
watched this
You
movie
were just
together.
silent,
I
but still.
I was like like I was like immediately sobbing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the most shocking moment, I think, still. And even watching it back, you almost kind of have to be like, wait, really? Like, I can't believe this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have the same impact because we know they all came back. And I think even as it was going on, I was like, okay, they're all going to be back eventually. That's going to be the premise of the next one. But I think, honestly, Bucky falling, it's like, holy shit, like, it's real. Like, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it wasn't, even T'Challa, it wasn't until, like, Groot and the whole Guardians, and, you know, like, I was like, they're not going to kill all the Guardians because they had already killed Gamora. I was like, they're not going to kill all the Guardians. And that's when I started to put it together. But just that whole process, it's just so shocking. You know, it's a great moment still. It has its effect. I think as time goes on, I think I'm going to start to like Infinity War even better than Endgame. Endgame's still my favorite Marvel movie of the MCU, but it's like as time goes on, I just think more and more. I'm like, Infinity War though was so good and just so well done, so impressive, and I'm like, maybe that is the best one. I don't know, just because it has that element of tragedy that's almost like I think even harder to win crowds over with than the positive, like we all won, we're heroes. Which obviously Tony dies, but like it's I think that movie just ending on that note and that music and that moment of him sitting out and looking at the sunset, like it's really well done. And I'm like, wow, maybe that is the best. I don't know. It's a really good movie though. It's a good moment.
Yeah. Oh god. Every time I have to watch Infinity War for something, I have to it takes mental preparation. Like I'm like, okay, we're doing this today. This is who we are. And it's hard every time.
So your number one
My
has
number
not been
one.
revealed, and I have a feeling I know who it's about, but I want to know what is the actual moment.
So my number one, I'm sure. I mean, Dill saw this coming. If you listen to us every week, I'm sure you saw this coming about how unhappy I've been ever since this happened. But my number one most shocking MCU moment is definitely the fact that Quicksilver in WandaVision did not turn out to be Quicksilver. He's a character named Ralph Boner.
So
not Pietro Maximoff.
And why is this so shocking to you? I mean, I know why it is, but explain to the viewers your
because it was right there, the opportunity to blend in this like multiverse with the X-Men was literally right there. And I'm like, and you blew it. You blew it, Marvel. You blew it. You butchered it. I don't know how you're going to fix this because I feel like we're all universally upset. Dylan just put up a tag on the video that says Kelsey rant. And it's just so annoying because like why make it Evan Peters if it's not going to be Peter Maximoff from the X-Men? Like why pick that actor just to annoy me? I feel like this was specifically to bother me. They said, you know what would piss off Kelsey the most? This, and they did it. And I've been upset ever since that this happened. And
Kelsey, what is the name of our list? Most shocking. That is why they did it, because it shocked you, it surprised you, and they wanted to have that misdirect. That honestly, your reaction right now is exactly what people's reaction to Iron Man 3 was. They were like, why would you make him the Mandarin if he's not even a Mandarin? You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things. So I get the frustration.
That's like a good fun twist. This twist felt like a knife being twisted. It felt like
yeah, I mean, I obviously was like, oh, I wish it was, the Peter Maximoff from X-Men, but at the same time, it's like, I'm kind of glad it wasn't, though, because I don't know if I want the same X-Men in this universe. I wish they could start fresh, and that way they can, but also still get Evan Peters in there to just have a part, and he might return, you never know. I don't think Kelsey wants to see it.
And then it just also makes me sad that, like, we couldn't get Aaron Taylor Johnson because I loved him. Oh, he was like one of my favorite parts of Avengers.
And we're getting more Age of him, just not in the MCU. We're getting him as Kraven the Hunter in the Sony verse, in the Venom verse, as the Spider-Man villain. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So.
Oh, how fun! I want him to be Pietro Maximoff.
Get here. I'm gonna give you like your opportunity. Like literally tell Marvel what you want right now.
Listen, I feel
I can hear you. I
foolish
can see you.
being on the whole screen.
You
What
can
do
even
I
lean closer to
want?
the camera. Get in their faces.
Marvel, I know you're listening. I know you listen to us weekly. I know you're taking notes. I know you want to give the people what they want. Give me what I want. We want Pietro Maximoff and we want him now. Whether it's Pietro or it's Peter, one or the other. This Ralph Boner character you force me to watch. I watched all the X-Men movies in preparation. Like, as soon as Evan Peters was involved in WandaVision, I watched all the X-Men movies. And let me tell you something, the MCU is better than the X-Men movies.
Okay.
Most of the X-Men
Logan
movies.
is better than all these movies we're talking about, but it's okay.
That's why I correct myself. I said some of them.
Anyway, that's the end of the
like,
Kelsey brand, but I get it. I do get it because it was a surprise, and it's a surprising moment. So I mean, it deserves to top your list. You know, it's a more satisfying than the snap, I'd say, or no, maybe it's not. I don't know. They both. The thing is, both your number 1 and 2 just suck. Like,
the snap
really
is the snap is way worse. But this just was like the snap. I was sad. Like this, I'm like I was annoyed. I was so annoyed. Oh my god, they better they better fix this. Dylan's giving me the hook. He's like, okay, you've said enough.
No, I get it. It's a great rant.
You're like playing the music right now, like I'm at an award show. They're like, get her off the stage.
Speaking of Pickle Awards next weekend, guys, this upcoming weekend, the Pickle Awards are there. Kelsey will be presenting. These were our list for the most shocking MCU moments. I guess between the two of us, if we had to like combine our lists, I guess the snap is the common number 1, which makes sense. Any last thoughts? Did you have any honorable mentions? I just had a few. I had like Mordo saying no more wizards. That was surprising. Loki and Sylvie kissing was crazy. Professor Hulk reveal was awesome at the diner. I was like, what?
Oh, sure, yeah.
That was cool. And then of course Hulk, not being the Hulkbuster in Infinity War was crazy because in the trailers we saw Hulk running at Wakanda. So the Hulkbuster itself. Those are my honorable mentions. But again, those don't stack up at the 10 we chose or 20 we chose, I guess, between the two of us.
No, those are some good honorable mentions, Dill.
Do you have any other rolling around? No?
I don't.
And a lot of them are deaths. So, like, we didn't count them. But, like, Vision's death in Infinity War is a shocker. Obviously, Black Widow.
Loki.
Obviously, Gamora. Loki. Yes. Even the shocking one, like, when Vision gets stabbed behind the back by Corvus Glaive. And it's like, whoa, but even... Or no, Vision stabs him, right?
No, he gets... When in Edinburgh?
Yeah.
No, Vision gets stabbed, and he says, like, oh, the blade, there's something on the blade I couldn't phase, like, through it or something.
Yeah, but a lot of those moments, too, like the deaths and stuff is shocking. Like, Bucky's death in First Avengers shocking, but it's not really a death, but it's also not that shocking in retrospect, so I didn't put it on, but a lot of good moments to talk about. Yeah. Should we tease next week?
Yeah, what are we doing next week?
We are doing a March Madness tournament, of course, because it's March. And we're going to do action sequences. We did villains, we did heroes. Now we're going to be doing March Madness of action sequences. So we're going to pick like probably 30 or so action sequences and actually put the action sequences to the test to find out what is the best like action sequence or fight scene in the MCU. Each movie will have one represented. Some movies might have two because there are a lot of fight scenes in Infinity War, a lot of fight scenes in Endgame. And yeah, some really just fun fights. I think we don't talk a lot about the action specifically. We talk more about the character moments. I think this will be fun, especially in the March Madness setting. It's March bracket season. It'll be fun to talk about like specifically fight and action and all that stuff. And it'll be fun to just rewatch a lot of these because they're on YouTube. Just fun. Because one of the action sequences, the Shang-Chi bus fight, is nominated for a Pickle Award. And will it win? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. You'll have to find out this weekend. Kelsey is presenting the category for best action sequence this weekend. So maybe
sure am.
Kelsey, anything to tease on your channels or your stuff, or just in general on the podcast next week? Are you excited for the bracket? Do you have an early favorite?
I have there's a lot of great moments in Captain America: The Winter Soldier that immediately come to mind to me. So,
cool. All right, so she's putting in her early favoritism right now. I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
my early favorites are probably going to be the unconventional ones, but yeah, I love myself a Wakandan duel. That's all I'll say.
All right, there it is then.
Yeah. Maybe we don't even need to do bracket. There we go. We give you our
So it's decided. Everyone
We're just gonna
wins.
put those two against each other. Wakanda duel versus Winter Soldier. No, actually, I'll make that the first round. That way, we'll have a more surprising outcome. I'm just kidding. It's gonna be random.
That's gonna be tough. All right.
I know. Anyway, where can they find you, Kels?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can find me on TikTok at Cause13. A lot of great content on there. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cause Productions.
That's right. And you can find me at Dylan. Yep. Yes, for audio listeners. Yes, thank you for in this episode telling the audio listeners what's happening on screen because I always forget that. You've been very helpful.
I try. I try to be inclusive.
We love you, audio listeners. But yeah, you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo at Twitter, Dylan_Randazzo at Letterboxd, and Dylan Randazzo 417 at TikTok, and at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you're watching on video, thank you. Like, subscribe. Please subscribe. Help this channel grow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, Stitcher, Anchor, thank you. Give us a review if you have one for us. Even if you just give us stars, you don't need to write something. You just give us a little 4-star, 5-star if you like us. And then head to YouTube and subscribe there. Help the channel grow. Look at our faces. Say these words. If you're on video, listen with your ears, hearing these words without our faces. But yeah, we appreciate you listeners on and off the camera. But yeah, that's all there is. The March Madness, the bracket itself got released yesterday, which is fun for the actual March Madness. And then we're going to release our bracket later this week. And then we will do our March Madness tournament of the action sequences while actual March Madness is going on, while the Pickle Awards are happening next weekend. It's going to be a whole hodgepodge of fun things in the midst of crazy audition season as well. So it's going to be a really wild time. But also Pickle Awards, we might see a little musical number, perhaps, to open up the show. And maybe one or two of us or both of us or all of us will be involved in that. I don't know, though. Maybe. And, of course, more trivia coming up later in the month. And Moon Knight starts at the end of the month, which will be the first episode in April. We are talking about Moon Knight. We're going to dissect Moon Knight. Unless Moon Knight sucks, then we will probably not say much about it. But I have no doubt it will be great. Even if it's not great, we'll have something to say about it. Anything else to say, Kels?
I'm excited.
Me too. All right, everyone. Have a good rest of your Mondays. We'll see you next time. Bye.